let's start on the dot. The first thing we should do is to elect chairman and deputy chairman. So let's proceed with that. We'll elect chairman for the panel on welfare services in the 2026 session. The Secretariat has issued notice to inform members that at the end of the nomination period for chairmanship, only one valid nomination has been received. The member so nominated is Reverend Peter Kuhn, who is nominated by Ms. Grace Chan and seconded by Ms. Judy Chan. Reverend Peter Kuhn is not chair or deputy chair of any other committee or panel, nor is he chair or deputy chair of any other related government advisory bodies. According to the rules of procedure and the House rules, I declare that the Reverend Peter Kuhn is returned chair of the panel on welfare services for the 2026 session. Congratulations, Reverend Kuhn. Please take the floor. Thank you, members. We now proceed to the election of Deputy Chair for the Panel on Welfare Services in the 2026 session. The Secretariat has issued a notice to inform members that at the end of the nomination period for Deputy Chair, only one valid nomination was received. The member so nominated is Ms. Jovi Chan. She is nominated by Mr. Stanley Ng and seconded by myself. Ms. Judy Chan is not chair or deputy chair of any other panel or committee, nor is she chair or deputy chair of any related government advisory bodies. According to the rules of procedure and the House rules, I declare that Ms. Jovi Chan is returned deputy chair of panel on welfare services for the 2026 session. Right, item 2. Schedule of meetings. In the 2025 session, the regular meetings of this panel are generally held at 10:45 a.m. Monday, the second Monday of each month. So if members agree to adopt the same arrangements, please refer to the proposed schedule of meetings for the 2026 session as tabled. Any questions? I'd like to draw members' attention to the following. On the administration's request, the February regular meeting will be advanced to 2:30 p.m. Monday on the 2nd of February. As for the second Monday in March, it clashes with the two sessions, so the March regular meeting will be rescheduled to 4:30 p.m. on the 16th of March, a Monday. Also, as for the second Monday in April, it will clash with the Special Finance Committee meetings. So the April regular meeting will be rescheduled to 8:30 a.m. on the 20th of April, Monday. All agree? Thank you. Items for discussion at the next meeting. To allow members a full grasp of the governing tenet, the Secretary for Labour and Welfare, as well as the Undersecretary for Home and Youth Affairs, will conduct a policy briefing for the panel between 4 and 5:30 p.m. on the 26th of January, Monday. They will brief members on their respective portfolios. As for the next regular meeting, it will be held at 2:30 p.m. on the 2nd of February, Monday. The administration has proposed to discuss two items. One, the Children Development Fund, and two, providing welfare facilities at Site E of Cha Kwa Lang Village project. Any views, members? Right. Members are now invited to express views on items for discussion during the 2026 session. Members, if you want to speak, please press the request to speak button now. And let me have a look. As you know, we have other meetings scheduled today, and I see quite a lot of members waiting to speak. I will give each member just 1 minute. We have 11 in total. If you're not able to finish in time, please write to the Secretariat. We will consider all your views along with the administration. Let's start with Mr. Mark Chong. Thank you, Chair. I hope we can discuss the community living room program this year. By December this year, the 3-year trial period will come to a close. I want to know whether this pilot will be extended. Next, Roundtable has been urging the government to include kindergarten pupils in the after-school care program. Third, using AI to identify the suspected child abuse cases. This is currently deployed in the CRH. Will you require other childcare centers to use the AI system? Next, Professor Chen Wing-Kwong. Thank you, Chair. I have 2 suggestions for this session. First, support for caregivers by the government, including the use of the hotline and deploying technology to ease the pressure on caregivers. Next, I'd like the government to explain their targeted poverty alleviation measures and the effectiveness so that we can have a review and make suggestions for improvements. Next, Mrs. Grace Chan. Yes, for carers, I'm on board with the other member, but I want to emphasize the formulation of long-term policy on support for carers and expanding the scope of the support subsidy. Now, the next point is about preschool child rehabilitation service to protect child in their course of development and to sustain the efforts. Next, Mr. Stanley. Chair, we're concerned about elderly care. The Guangdong scheme is popular. Meanwhile, we understand there is a huge demand. All the quotas have been used up. Will the government provide more resources on Guangdong scheme? And perhaps we can extend Guangdong scheme to cover Fujian as well, so as to meet the aspirations of elderly people who'd like to retire in Fujian. Likewise, the elderly healthcare voucher scheme should cover Fujian as well. So perhaps the government can explore these suggestions. Next, Ms. Jovi Chan. Yes, picking up on what my president said, for Hainan there is a pilot scheme. So for healthcare voucher schemes, the scheme should be expanded to cover Hainan to make drugs more accessible to our elderly. And also using mainland manufactured pharmaceutical products in Hong Kong. I understand the Community Care Fund provides support to the rare and ultra expensive drugs and new drugs. I want to discuss that as well. And we should review the safety net after introducing the hospital fee hikes is a concern among elderly. The other point is about this review for the working poor and how the review should be conducted. Mr. Chao Su-chung. Thank you, Chair. This is the second year which is crucial to the passage of the amendment legislation last year for RCHEs. And there will be a new job title for elderly caregivers. And as I understand, under this new system, we have imported registered nurses. This will have an impact on the in-service practitioners, and these are health and care practitioner. So I want to know whether they will have an impact on the health and care practitioners. These candidates undergo 700 hours of training in total. They do get higher pay, but according to this vocational training program, the salary level remains at $22,000. So there'll be an impact on them for sure. Ms. Elaine Chick. In this session, I'd like to discuss the case referral mechanism among departments and units. There are cases involving elderly requiring support. The social welfare department works with the care teams, and that greatly facilitates case identification. So I want to know whether such a system can be set up among government departments so as to streamline procedures for applying for allowances and subsidies and access to services. Next, Mr. Bill Tang. Chair. Well, I think the Secretariat may have questions about this medical fee reform. It should come under another panel. But now that medical social workers are required to take it up, so I'd say that this is relevant to our panel as well. My first point is about support for elderly people aging in the community. For the first phase, there is a list for those living in public housing, but the government doesn't provide a timetable for those not living in public housing. And within the same framework, there is a collaboration with care teams. I want to have a discussion on that. Next, about subvented organizations. I'd like to discuss the monitoring of these welfare organizations and their development. Next, Mr. Hong Kam In. Hong Kong has an aging population. There should be comprehensive welfare planning to cope with aging population in Hong Kong, including the relevant population policies and measures. Second, for clansmen associations, district organizations, they can help improve district governance. Are there relevant measures to encourage resident organizations, clansmen, and district organizations to better support the government? On Fujian scheme, likewise, I've received requests from members of the public. I'd like the government to look into that as well. Ms. Ginny Man. 2 points about enduring power of attorney I'd like to discuss is implementation. I've received complaints. Family members may have signed the enduring power of attorney, and then at the actual implementation, there are hiccups. I'd like to follow up on that. Next, about Gyrantech. We have advanced technologies nowadays. In the past, we used the alarm system, but now we use mobile phones, and that we can also have sensors at home, and if the sensors are not activated for a long time, we can then call the police. My question is on how the government will make better use of drone technology. Next, Mr. Kasaf Tam. For NT North, there is a lack of resources despite continuous increase in population. I'd like the panel to follow up on the number of areas. First, childcare services. We have dual working parents. They tend to set off early and come back late. Second, support for women in joining the workforce and enhancing welfare facilities. Third point, about the mandatory reporting of child abuse cases that just came into force this week. child abuse cases are really disheartening. So I'd like the government to report their progress to us.
Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Chair. I have two suggestions. One, how we can make use of technology to find the hidden cases. In the last term, in fact, in the very last session, we also discussed this, but the government's reply is that it seems they can do a lot in public housing estates, and how we can work on those living in private housing estates will be what we should discuss in this year. My second point is how we can help professionals in elderly care sector to train them to make sure there is adequate supply, as well as put in place a career ladder. I hope that we can discuss in depth in future what policy directions we should take to make sure residential care homes for the elderly can hire the right people. Thank you. Dr. Webster. Thank you, Chair. We have some members talk about this. I am especially concerned how we are going to tackle the problem of an aging population, how we can make use of AI and technology to help with planning for the aging population. We also need to follow up on the Wangfu Court fire. We need to make sure there is proper manpower planning on the part of the government, and how we can have long-term planning for major disasters like that. Thank you. Professor Alex Fan. Thank you, Chair. I have two suggestions. One about professional development and continuous professional development for social workers. In July 2024, we amended the Social Workers Registration Ordinance, and the government's stance is that they would start with some soft indicators and then some hard indicators. I hope that we can follow up on this. And now for the Guangdong scheme and for the old age living allowance and old age allowance, whether we can expand them to those in Hainan. Thank you. Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Chair. Many members talked about the waiver arrangements for the medical fees after they have been increased earlier. We, of course, want to expand the scope of the exemption to include all of those who are receiving old age living allowance. This is under the purview of the Health Bureau, but we have indeed social workers helping with applications. We have many different technologies now, AI and otherwise. We can definitely streamline the application procedures to facilitate elderly persons applying for such waiver. My second point is we had some members talk about grassroots families with parents, both of them working, how we're going to help them care for their children. We have community nannies being paid $25 before it has been increased to $60. I hope that we can have enough resources for social welfare organizations, especially when we are at a better fiscal position now to provide them with the assistance they need. We can perhaps discuss this at a panel on welfare services meeting. Mr. Leung Man Kwong, thank you, Chair. I hope that we can discuss for the care teams, how they can better support elderly and carers. We actually have some arrangements, but they are going to expire on 31st of March. We need to really do an assessment on the effectiveness. In the policy address, it was mentioned for high-risk people, we will have some sort of technology to detect potential accidents. I want to ask what is the latest progress on the study. We also need to pay attention to the issue of elderly suicides. We do not want any of that happening, so we can perhaps discuss this. Thank you. Mr. Chan Pui Leung, thank you, Chair. This year, we will have new laws to protect digital platform workers. This is a new law to protect work injury of digital platform workers. It would involve many different stakeholders. I hope that the government can consult stakeholders by participating in panel meetings early on. Thank you, Ms. Judy Chen. Thank you, Chair. Congratulations, first of all. I heard many members mention issues relating to child welfare and welfare for women. I think we should in particular discuss what we have been discussing in the last term. We have seen more divorce cases. We do see more need for support for single parent families, especially those with special education needs children. I have also worked with children lived in children's homes. Once they are past the age of 18, it seems that they have trouble adjusting. Can we have more of a buffer period where we can provide support to them? I also want to talk about adoption. Right now, the procedures for adopting children in Hong Kong takes long. I hope that the procedures can be streamlined. Thank you. The Secretary has recorded the views of members. The Deputy Chairman and I will meet with the administration to discuss the work plan for this session. We will consider the views raised by members. The Chairman of the House Committee at last week's House Committee meeting has briefed members on the basic principles on setting up policy subcommittees under the House Committee or panels. The House Committee agreed that after it has received all suggestions for setting up policy subcommittees, consider the order for the formation of policy subcommittees. As the panel will hold a regular meeting early February, if members think it is necessary to set up a policy subcommittee or policy subcommittees under the panel to study specific matters, I would ask members to submit to the Secretariat your written suggestions before 5 p.m. on 28th of January, Wednesday. You should include the terms of reference, work timetable, and work plan, and other relevant information. Please note that a basic principle about the formation of policy subcommittee is that apart from actually doing the option of formation of policy subcommittees, we can just discuss the relevant items under regular meetings of the panel or hold special meetings for that purpose. The terms of reference should be about a specific matter or specific matters, and the work of a policy subcommittee must be completed within 12 months. And at the same time, we can only have 10 policy subcommittees in operation. Please also note that the maximum number of members in each policy subcommittee is 20, and more than half of the panel members must join the policy subcommittee. Non-panel members can join, but the number of which cannot be more than the number of panel members. Also, for agenda number 4, any other business about sign language interpretation. In this session, the Secretariat will continue to provide sign language interpretation for meetings of the panel on welfare services and for joint panel meetings involving the panel on welfare services and the policy subcommittees. On a needs basis, such service will be provided. If there's no other business, meeting adjourned. Thank you.